Hello, welcome to Star Wars Spelt Out. I'm your host, Josh Chapman, and today, returning guest. It's been too long. We're just talking offline. It's been too long. He's been on a couple of times before. Let's just jump straight in. You know him. You love him. Imperial Senate Podcast. Charlie Ashby. How you going, my man?
Hey, it's good to be back.
I know. It's been forever. I think it's been... I'm just trying to remember whether you'd actually been on pre-Celebration last year or not. You know, when you leave Celebration, you say your goodbyes and it's all these promises are made of, we'll talk real soon, and we'll do
it's
stuff.
funny you said that. I literally this week listened to your last episode and you're like, don't worry though, mate, we'll see each other next year. I'm like, oh,
no,
only we knew.
I know. Oh, the lies. The lies. We were taken for an absolute ride on that. I caught up with some of Melbourne people listeners would know, Andy Campbell and Charlie Ashby, and we went to the bar that Tracy Gardner runs. People know Tracy. And it was just a lot of talk of, gosh, didn't the best laid plans get changed on us? And it seems redundant to talk about it now because, it's still happening for a lot of people. But yeah, it's every time I get a Celebration email, it's just like, yeah, it just seems weird.
Doesn't it? Yeah. So many plans, so many dreams shattered. It's funny. I was thinking like how many people had plans for this year whose shows and friendships and loves don't not even exist by the time it actually comes.
Yeah. Well, that was the only thing I had planned. Like I've got two little kids. We don't really do much else because you can't really. You might have like a little local holiday or something, but like that was like the thing that I had planned for this year. I didn't really have anything else. Sort of not to say I had nothing to look forward to, which isn't true, but you know what I mean. Like that was like the thing, and you kind of go, all right, I'm just going to base everything around this and this, and then it kind of went, I guess I'm not going to be doing that. I'll be doing something but it's like 2022 seems so far away that it just seems ridiculous to be looking that forward to it.
It doesn't it? Well, yeah, I was thinking that as well, and I was like, well, we're only like 2 months away from 2021, which just seems ridiculous in itself.
Yeah. And
judging by how this year's gone, it could either feel like 5 years or 1 year.
At least if we get to 2021, we can say Celebrations next year. You know what I mean? Like at least it's not that like 2 year, because 2 years just seems crazy. That seems like waiting for Olympics or something, like, or the World Cup or something, like it just seems crazy. And like speaking of the World Cup, obviously Diego Maradona passed away this morning, and I've got a man who's wearing a Arsenal beanie right now as we talk, so he obviously knows who Diego Maradona is. Nothing to do with Star Wars, but I was just thinking about like, there's no Star Wars equivalent of Diego Maradona, is there? There's no kind of like, there's nobody
Mark Hamill.
Is Hamill? Hamill's like Maradona?
Mark Hamill hasn't cheated, so I don't know,
I don't think Mark Hamill was like getting busted on drug busts, and I don't even know whether from an actor's point of view or, I mean, who's the wildest Star Wars actor? Like, who's the bad boy of the Star Wars actors or the bad?
There's some we can't talk about.
I mean, there's some for the wrong reasons, but I mean, as far as of like the, like the rock star, the swagger, the dangerous one.
Harrison Ford.
Yeah, but is he though? When's the last time Harrison Ford got
into people via a plane?
Yeah,
that's pretty great.
That was an accident. It wasn't like he's getting into punch-ups in nightclubs and stuff like that, or.
Did he used to build like drug compartments for celebrities in Hollywood?
Oh, did he?
I'm sure I've heard that before because he was a carpenter. So apparently, I think like he used to like. This could be, I should say, allegedly. Like, I don't know
the caveat. In case Harrison's listening.
Sure
he's like, I thought they'd been put to bed.
I feel like he used to make like compartments for like marijuana and stuff to hide in like hot tubs and stuff because he was a carpenter. He could do that stuff.
You know what? Carrie Fisher is the bad boy of Star Wars actors. Surely,
yeah.
Live hard, all that kind of stuff. I feel stupid now not realizing that after. I mean, it was just obvious, really. I mean, she is the Diego Maradona of Star Wars, really. Adored,
100%.
flawed. Lived life to the fullest. Coached Argentina to a World Cup. All that kind of stuff.
Well, yeah. That would have been a crazy celebration.
I don't know. Do you reckon it like gets loose behind the scenes at Celebration? Like, I'm not privy to what goes on behind the scenes at
Oh yeah,
Celebration.
but yeah. I'm sure it does. I've heard stories of some people. It's like crazy.
It's
I
all
think like I don't know.
It's not the
I don't know if
A-listers
it's
though. It's like,
no, oh no.
it's
It's like Jawa number 4.
Jawa number 4 getting loose with like Daniel Logan or bloody it's like mostly the Australians probably, like Jack Thompson or yeah. I'm just trying to think. Usually I've usually got a pretty good like reel of all the shonky Australian actors that are in Star Wars, but for some reason it's just eluding me right now. But do you get
like
that?
stunt coordinator or something?
Yeah. Do you get that like, like since Star Wars, was originally filmed in Britain and then kind of went to Australia for sort of 2 movies and then went back to Britain again. Like, do you get that cultural cringe when you watch Star Wars? You're like, oh, that's bloody so-and-so from EastEnders, or that's so-and-so from Casualty, or that's like...
Yeah, obviously, yeah. I mean, we had that with the prequels as well. Like, you had so many people there. It's like Hugh Corshi from Casualty.
I just remember him being in Red Dwarf. That was always the thing I recognised him from. He was in an episode of Red Dwarf, Hugh Corshi. But,
well, he might have been... Was it Holby City? It's the same, like, for people that don't know British TV... Holby City and Casualty are these 2 hospital shows that take place in the same hospital, but in different departments.
Yeah.
I think he might be in Holby. Yeah.
That's like a Star Wars level of ringing out a timeline, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, it's like, and there's crazy crossovers every year, and so. But yeah, there is those moments where you're like, I know that person. That's blah, blah, blah. Especially at Rogue One. I think Daniel Mays was a big one. Daniel Mays is this really big actor over here who's like in everything. He's incredible.
Yeah.
And he played that dude that Cassian shot at the beginning of the film.
Yep. There's a few of those. It's like I think I mentioned before, like Jodie Comer being in Rise of Skywalker for like one line, and then you watch Killing Eve, and she's just like the world's greatest actress. And you just go, wow, really?
It's crazy.
Have you ever heard her speak? Like Jodie Comer just speak normally in an interview or anything like
that?
Yeah. She's got this like totally thick Scouse accent. I had no idea. Like
she's incredible, yeah.
You just go, oh wow, like you're even more of a greater actress than I thought you were, because I had no idea that you've got this like massively thick, like Dave Lister-esque Liverpool accent going on,
Yeah, I remember the BAFTAs. I think it was the BAFTAs when she got the award. It was just like, oh my god, this is amazing.
Like, is she doing a character? Like, is she still on? Is she still acting? Yeah, that's sort of the biggest bummer about that, I guess, is that, I mean, you never say never with Star Wars, is that she's kind of like punched her Star Wars card now. You know what I mean? Like, you could put her, like, give her a Star Wars movie. Like, now you've kind of wasted her on this.
I'm just saying, like, the latest episode of The Mandalorian, we see a bunch of clones. And if these are potential Palpatine clones, don't be surprised if we get a spin-off called Rey's Dad, where he falls in love with Jodie Comer.
My 3 Rey's dads.
Look, that's all I want. All I want is a beautiful love, star-crossed romance where this beautiful clone falls in love with this beautiful woman. They have a little kid, and they're getting chased around the galaxy by OG of Pastoon.
Is it one of those sort of typical rom-com things, where it, there has to be a point where it looks like it's all going to fall apart, the truth comes out. So it's like the whole, I'm a clone of the worst dude in history. Is he seemed like the perfect man, and then it turned out that he was actually a clone of the worst guy in history. Like, would it be worse?
Well, he's keeping it secret, and
exactly.
Like, he just admits it to her, and she's like, "Look, I know, but I still love you." Like,
but that doesn't happen right away, because it's sort of like, well, what's worse, that you're a clone? Is there clone prejudice in the galaxy? Or is it, like, I'm a clone, oh, that's pretty bad. Whoa. Like, just hold your powder here. I'm actually a clone of the Emperor Palpatine as well.
No, it's going to be like, look, you may be a clone of one of the worst genocidal maniacs in history, but what's worse is that you didn't feel comfortable to tell me about it.
I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed. Now I've got to go walk in the rain and have a think about things. Oh no, I'm on Camino. It's just rubbing it in.
Yeah, like so many clones everywhere.
Have you read that that Rise of Skywalker novel? Like, does it actually kind of? I haven't read it. Does it actually have it make sense.
I
Excuse me.
haven't read it either, but I'm pretty sure that they do say that he is a clone, but he's not Force sensitive.
So he's like a dud, kind of.
Pretty much,
And,
which I like. I like that concept.
which is weird that he just gets sort of like allowed to live. You think like the Emperor's tolerance for people, for life in general. You think that he would just be like, well, I guess I'll just let this one go. And
I mean, I feel like that's part of it, right? Like they must have just escaped. Must have been running off and like, look,
it's a really,
just find this.
it's just a, it's a, I mean, it's a weird salute. I mean, that whole thing is weird. I mean, it's been talked about to death, really. But it's like the more you sort of scratch onto the under the surface and stuff, it feels like it would have just been easier for him to have biological children somewhere back on Naboo or something, or I don't know, like.
I mean, I love it. I think I really do love that concept because it feels more Palpatine than him, jerking off into a tube. I don't want to see the Emperor get laid. I don't think that makes sense.
But he was a pretty, back in his Naboo days, he was a pretty, nice head of hair, and he was a, politician, powerful dude.
Yeah, exactly. He's a politician.
But he must have had a few,
But I don't think he
suitors.
cared. Like, you have to remember that he was doing double time. His spare time, he was busy putting a cloak on, sorting out shenanigans.
He wasn't sort of hitting Tinder in his spare time. He's like, no, all my off time, all my non-face-to-face time is black cloak time kind of thing.
Because you've got to remember as well, it's quite a bit of a few miles away, the Senate chamber from that abandoned industrial yard.
Estate.
That's like a tube, and that's like a tube and a bit. You got to walk the rest of the way.
Yeah.
Get your cloak on.
Make sure no one's
you're just tired.
It's like, no time for chicks. Too busy plotting to take
I want a
over.
family. I want to settle down, but I can't do this. I'm just gonna clone myself.
There's gonna have to be a convenient way to do it. Yeah.
But seriously, in universe, like I feel like it's just a great way of introducing that concept because we know the two driving forces for Palpatine and Vader, which they're definitely exploring more in this new canon, which I really like, is the fact that what he says in Episode 3, which is that they're trying to extend their life.
Mm.
And we see Vader do it in order to do different concepts. We see it in the comics, which is really cool. We see it in I don't know if you've read the Darth Vader comics, but there's this really great arc.
Yeah, I'm reasonably caught up on them.
Yeah, the Mortis. Not the Mortis arc. The what's his name? Darth.
It's the guy who puts himself into the artifact kind of thing.
Yeah, the helmet. Yeah.
It's kind of weird at the moment because they're doing this they're in the middle of Empire and Jedi at the moment in the comics, and it's just there's all this wacky adventures that are going on in between, and Darth Vader's going through a pretty rough patch. He went back to Mustafar and got the crap kicked out of him, and
it's so good.
And just oh wow, this is all going on in between these movies. It's yeah, and then they.
I love it because Ochi Pastoon, the baddest boy in the galaxy. There's something so cool about that whole comic series. Because when you watch Return of the Jedi, one of my favorite things about Return of the Jedi, and actually Empire as well, is that Anakin's transformation begins in the latter half of Empire. There's a scene where after Luke, he sees Luke actively choose to fall to his death rather than go with him. And that clicks in his head. He's like, okay, shit, this isn't good. And there's that bit at the end where the Falcon escapes, and Vader looks out the ship, and he's devastated. Yep. And he doesn't say a word. And the way that Evan Kirshner directs it is amazing. Because he looks out, looks back, and then all the way he frames it is that all the Imperials are looking upwards. Because the entire film, he kills anyone who does anything wrong.
Yeah.
And this time he just walks past and lets them go. And they're all looking like,
who's going to get it?
What's going on? Why is he not killing one of us? And it's really cool. And then we see, obviously, in Return of the Jedi, it's just this bit where he's questioning Palpatine and stuff. And Palpatine's like, well, why would you not tell me this? What's going on? It's
well, he doesn't. He doesn't kill anybody in Jedi apart from Palpatine. So his body count. I can't remember what his body count in New Hope is. I mean, he shoots a few X-wings down and stuff, but yeah, it's sort of on the decline. Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah, he gets choked and then thrown to a wall for good measure, just as there's a second humiliation, just to make sure, in case you didn't, just to make sure you're doubly hurt. That.
No, definitely. Those comics just add so much to it, and I feel with the Palpatine thing as well. I love the idea that he's also because that's the thing about the Sith as well, is that they're both doing it against each other. Vader's like, look, I want Padme back. Like, screw this. And Palpatine's like, look, I don't care if he dies. Like, I want to just live forever. Like, I want to extend my reign. And I like the idea that he gets so far, like, he doesn't reach the epitome of what he wants. He doesn't get to the point where he's like, look, I found the perfect way to come back. This is the bare minimum I can get to.
It's like the bastardized version of.
Yeah, like his soul must travel to this like horrible exegol chamber thing, and he's like, look, I have to live with this shitty thing. I've got all these clones, they're all deformed. I know, what if we use one of them as a sympathetic story to gain sympathy from all these people? And that's where the whole Snoke being, oh, Luke Skywalker hurt him and beat him up, and we should feel bad for him, stuff comes into it.
That's exactly how it went down. It's just funny because it's got that dynamic. Have you watched the holiday special, the Lego holiday special? Yeah. What do you think of that?
I really liked it. I love the Lego specials. I don't know if you watched all of them, but their sense of humor is just spot on.
Yeah, it was funny. Like it's, I mean, the thing that's significant about it, and I know it's not canon, and I'm not going to get into a debate about what's canon and what's not canon. Like, who gives a shit? Was it's the furthest point in the timeline now. Like, it's actually like there is definitely stuff in that will go forward as canon to some degree. Whether it's Rey training Finn, Rey being a Jedi Master, like she refers to herself as a Jedi Master, like a few times. You know, poor Anakin absolutely slogged away for years, got nowhere. Like Rey's just like, I'm a master now, which is pretty much what Luke did, I think. You know, like he didn't wait around for someone to call him a Jedi Master. He was just like, as soon as I'm teaching somebody, I'm putting my educator's cap on here. And I think that was all right. Well, that seems like that's reasonably canon. Like, I don't know what else really, but then it's all just sort of hanging out and. Everything kind of being defeated and stuff, but like they had like that Vader Palpatine dynamic as well. I mean, it's obviously played for laughs, but it's sort of like he's just ready to get rid of Vader as soon as something better comes along. Yeah,
he does it the entire prequel trilogy.
To his 3 times as well.
He does it in the film as well. He does it in Return of the Jedi. He's like, look, kill him.
Yeah,
I don't give it. Like, that's what is great about that character. Like. Vader's like, excuse you? Like, what? But Vader knows that as well. Vader knows that he doesn't care about him. I think I can't remember who said it. It might have been Sam Witwer, but I remember him saying, like, Palpatine wanted all this stuff to get, like, the brand new iPhone in Anakin Skywalker. Like, the update, he's got the best updates, he's got the best, technology. And then when he gets him, it breaks. Like, the screen cracks.
Yeah,
and
it catches on fire, and it kind of, you can kind of see what's going through the screen. It's like, oh man. I mean, I guess it'll be all right because I went and after I got that iPhone, I went and burnt and destroyed all the other phone companies.
But then a brand new phone comes back like 30 years later by the same people.
Yeah,
it's like, yeah, I want that one now. But yeah, no, I really enjoyed the Lego special. I thought it was really funny.
I did like
people take things too seriously.
I didn't even really I didn't even search for conjecture on it. Like I think I've mentioned this a few times. Like my personal timeline is very well curated. Like I don't really see any poo-pooing. Like obviously the one for the podcast is a bit more wide, but I don't sort of bother on there that much apart from sort of promotion things, or I can think of a very stupid joke that's Star Wars related. But so most people are just like, oh yeah, it's fun, it is what it is. It's cool. Like I hope they do some more. I would like a few more direct holiday special in jokes though, but
like directly referencing
like the original one. But
that would have been good.
But that's okay. But like
we made a subtle holiday special joke in one of our viral videos recently, which was fun.
Oh really? I don't think I've seen that one. Was it? So there was something that was cooked up in the production meeting, was it?
Well, it was the Frog Lady. We made a video about Frog Lady and Frogman.
Yep.
Cuddling each other.
Aww.
And I decided to use Nothing's Gonna Stop Us Now. Because I love that song. I thought it fit really well. And unintentionally, obviously, they're canon, according to the holiday special.
Yep.
Jefferson Starship are canon. Well, so, technically, you could argue that's a canon song.
I remember getting the discussion with a couple of times about like Max Rebo band, like whether they're actually like a popular band or whether they're just like a gigging out of rim band. Like, does Jabba, is it kind of like when you hire Elton John to play your wedding kind of thing? Like rich people put the money down. So Jabba's just like, I want the best band. They're going to come and do a residency.
I think that's definitely
at
the
my
case.
thing.
I feel like
Or are they just like a slumming gigging band in the worst part of the galaxy and they're just taking any gig they can get?
I think it's more like Vegas in the 50s, where it's like
Sammy Davis and Dean Martin.
Yeah, the Rat
and
Pack are like hanging out with the mafia people. I think that's exactly
like Jabba got them fame. Like Jabba kind of knew them before, used his mob ties to get them big, and he's like, "Hey, when I want you to play, yeah,
Max Rebo's down with that. Like, I think he's got some dodgy stuff going.
He likes
on, but also he's like a popular musician.
Well, he's clearly the only one who made it out alive too. he turns up in that holiday special. It's kind of like, when people like Billy Corgan, rewrites the Smashing Pumpkins as just him, and it's just like, this isn't really the Smashing Pumpkins. This isn't really Max Rebo. It says Max Rebo band on the front, but the rest of the band was essentially, it's like, oh no, I got a bunch of new guys. It's all right. It doesn't matter.
It's like Brian Ferry, but with Roxy Music.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of them that do it, isn't it? I think it's like, it's not the same. It's not the same band.
I know Claire's happy because I keep suggesting that now that we know that Boba Fett survived and Max Rebo, there's a good chance that Salacious made it out.
Oh yeah. Maybe he took them with him. Maybe they were all in the Sarlacc together. And then, Salacious is he's pretty nimble. He could have just leapt off the thing pretty, done like a Die Hard kind of. There's a Photoshop of him kind of like, projecting away from a fireball behind him kind of thing. Yeah, God, if I get time to Photoshop that onto a T-shirt, I'd send that to Claire. I'm sure she'd appreciate that. Yeah. I'd like to think there'd be more survivors. Because it took some time to blow up. Like if you were sort of if you were kind of
Luke kicked a few people off.
Yeah, it was like at the time I felt embarrassed, but actually I'm really glad that happened in retrospect because I just sort of dusted myself off, and I guess they go back to Jabba's palace and raid the place.
But yeah, there's so many stories you can tell now. Post episode 9, I think.
So where you at with Mandalorian? What time does Mandalorian drop in the UK? Roughly?
I think it drops at like 8 a.m.
That's pretty good. All things considered.
I think that's not too bad. Or at least I wake up about 8 a.m. and it's already on there. So
it's waiting for you like a Christmas present under the tree kind of thing.
Exactly. Just wake up, watch the Mandalorian, and go back to bed.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah. Well, we get it like perfect viewing TV time here, which is about 7 p.m. Friday night.
Oh, perfect.
Especially for people with children who don't have no social lives. So you just sort of, put the kids in bed, roll on the Mandalorian. So it's great. So it's kind of weird that, usually Australia or the UK get the rough end of the stick for releases and things, and it actually is America. There's people sort of, your Corey and Noahs and those people and Claire as well, up at sort of 2 a.m, like, hey guys, welcome. Okay, let's all right, let's get into this. Like, kind of slap the face.
Doesn't affect me, so it's fine.
How you faring the season so far? Because it's sort of living up to expectations. Have you hit sort of predictions and stuff like that? Like what you thought was going to happen have kind of happened? And I know that there'd been stuff. I really, really, really wish that I knew nothing going in. And I know that we're kind of at a point now where almost all the things that had kind of leaked as far as months ago, there was some stuff that recently, I don't know that. But, that stuff's sort of out in the open now. So it feels like, stuff like the cloning coming back into it and whatever Gideon's got cooked up in that hangar. What is that? Are they troopers? Are they? Or robots?
They're dark troopers.
Right, from the video games?
Yeah. It was confirmed in the last week's episode in the, I think the subtitles.
Right. So are they dudes in suits or are they just like improved battle
I think
droids?
That's the topic of debate between people. Because people aren't sure whether they're cloning people to have force sensitivity to be cyborgs, or if they're just
cool suits.
In my opinion, robots. Because if they're droids, I feel like that makes more sense thematically for Din to be upset about.
That he's kind of like, oh no, it's happening again.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Yep.
I think that makes more sense to me. But then again, no, could be wrong. I prefer the Palpatine stuff because I love that plot point. Like no matter what people think of Episode 9, I love that stuff. Like the whole shenanigans there.
I don't even know if we've spoken since Episode 9. So we'll just go back in the time machine a little bit here. Like, what was your Episode 9 sort of viewing experience? Did you get some mates together? Did you do a midnight kind of thing down the view?
Yeah, we did a midnight viewing. All three of us, and it was fun. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was weird. Actually, it was weird. I walked out, and my first opinion was the quote, to quote Han Solo from Episode 7. Huh. And it wasn't like a negative. I don't think it was a negative, huh? And then we went back to watch it, and I was like, look. It took me a day to think about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I'm just interested to see what my family think. They all came back, and it's been contentious. Like, my dad has been less fans of the sequel trilogy, and more so of the standalone stuff. Yep. So he loves the Mandalorian. He loves Solo, Rogue One.
Rogue One, yep.
So I was intrigued what he thought as well. But they all loved it. Like, my mum was like, no, that makes perfect sense. Like, I think it makes thematic sense. Everything comes together. And I was like, do you know what? I don't hate it either. And I feel like I just needed a bit more confirmation. I was like, am I feeling weird for liking this?
Am I the crazy one? No, it's everyone else who's crazy. Yeah. I mean, I certainly think it's the weakest of the three, but I don't hate. Like, I didn't walk out going like, how dare they do that, and how could they? Like, I'm like, I can see why they've done this. And I watched it again on Disney Plus not that long ago, about a week ago or something. I was sort of just like, I think I'll bang it on, because I had sort of a window to do it, and I was, it's like, oh yeah, it's a movie of lots of really good moments, but I kind of always feel like the first half of the movie is kind of just like, it could have gone bigger, quicker, and then like really.
It's so fast paced.
Yeah, but it's so fast paced doing things that. So far paced of shoe leather to get to a point where everything kind of ramps up. I sort of feel like once you get to the sort of the second Death Star, everything kind of ramps up. I'm kind of like, oh, you could have almost cut that and expanded it and sort of returned the King did or something. You know what I mean? Like really thrown the scope out or something like that. But I don't know. Like, at the same time, I'm like, well, there'll be another one. It doesn't. And it was just weird. Like now, like with the holiday special, like living this world, I was like, oh yeah, life went on. Like.
Yeah,
they got on the ship. They cooked the what was it they were trying to cook? Whatever their roast turkey equivalent was. Yip tip or something.
Was it yip tips? Yeah.
I've never heard of that one before. I better check Wikipedia for that.
I'm gonna get attacked by Star Wars Explained.
Yeah, right now Molly and Alex's ears have pricked up. They can just tell. They can just tell someone's getting it wrong somewhere, which is annoying.
I have a question for you.
Yes, hit me.
If they were to do more stories after Episode 9 in live action that were canon, would you be angry if they used the First Order still in some form?
No, because I feel like that they didn't really resolve that.
Okay, that's my opinion too. Like,
that was one of the. I mean, that was one of the sort of the things that kind of probably did bug me about Rise of Skywalker, was that they sort of spent 2 years, 2 movies setting up the First Order, taking over, and then they didn't really get resolved. I mean, I had this whole theory that I thought that the thing that the fact that the First Order used stolen children was going to really play into the final film, and that the fact that Finn was a stolen child, and maybe the MacGuffin was sort of like a way of getting all the First Order people to find out where their families were, so they'd all go, well, I don't need to fight for these losers anymore. I know where my family is. I can go back, and I can, that would, and then sort of, maybe the MacGuffin was for Rey to become head of the First Order by getting rid of Kylo and then releasing all the information to everybody, and then you could kind of dismantle it that way. Everybody just goes home because it's like, well, I've rubbed my eyes a little bit and I've seen the truth and blah blah blah. But they didn't ask me. But anyway, but there is a potential sort of story out there of like the Empire kind of stuck around with less, as it turned out. Like, they got beaten. I feel like they got beaten worse. It's kind of hard to tell. How'd they get beaten?
Yeah, it reminds me of that Robot Chicken sketch where they go, well, there we go. the Empire's over? He's like, why? He goes, the Emperor died. He goes, so? He goes, we've got like loads of ships still and loads of troopers. And he's like, no, like, we need to blow up a Death Star. He goes, but that happened before. We didn't give up. He goes, no, but the Emperor's dead. He goes, what does that mean?
It's
Like
true.
that's what it just reminds me of.
Well, I know, like in the new canon, like the Battle of Jakku was like where they kind of finished them off, so to speak. And then I think in the old canon, I think in the Thrawn books, it was said that, like, you know, the A-wing that takes down the Super Star Destroyer by itself, where he kind of like he flies through like and the whole thing just falls, like, he, you know. And I think in the book it said that, like, that was where all the best and brightest of the Empire were all on that ship. That was like, you know, the crack troops for whatever. So that was sort of after that you got left with the dregs, because all the best, everybody was on the worstly, you know, shielded ship in the galaxy. It's like, hey, we're military geniuses, not engineers over here, okay? You know, like...
Yeah, to give a bad pun, it was that ship design was badly executed.
Oh, burn. That is a pretty bad pun, but that's okay. We'll let that one slide. It's like, hey, man, the bad puns can travel pretty well over here, but I know what your bread and butter is over there in Imperial Senate, you guys. I know how you roll.
Yeah, we do us.
Yeah, don't stop doing you. So just kicking it back around to Mandalorian again. Did you? I mean, what did you think about the fact that he's in some kind of like cult?
I love it.
It kind of explains quite a lot.
So much. Yeah,
He doesn't really know much. He doesn't really know much about the galaxy. That he's actually kind of like a sheltered dude.
Yeah, and I feel like people seem to suggest that maybe this means that the armor is a villain. But I don't know if that's the case either. I feel like
I know
the whole point of
boys
the show
drew
is
up,
that.
but that's all sort of grey areas.
Yeah, they also did save his life. No, on the pros and cons list for like stopping you from getting murdered by a super battle droid is on the pro list. Yeah, I think that there is just so much intrigue from this. The idea that in Rebels we saw Bo-Katan unite the clans, but perhaps there's a huge group of people that wasn't there to be united because they were the outsiders.
Yeah,
I think that
like,
will tie into...
We'll go along with it for the sake of, you know, putting this thing to bed. But really, when we get our chance, we'll...
No, I think that what will happen is that beforehand, when they tried to fight the Empire, when Bo-Katan and Sabine and all that stuff, when she had the Darksaber, it was like, well, we've united the clans, so therefore we'll win. But if they didn't unite the cultists and thought they were just still outsiders, maybe the core concept and idea is that they have to bring them into the fold, and people that they once treated as non-Mandalorians, when really that they're as a Mandalorian as anyone else. Like Din, perhaps, and this is what I think will happen, Furious-wise, Boba Fett.
Yep.
Or all come into fold and be like, look, you got to get us involved, and then they can win the day.
Or they just, you know, they all kind of got together and had a crack at the Empire and lost pretty badly, and then they're just like, you know what, F you guys, you're on your own. Like, we're all going to get out of this planet because it's been trashed. We're just busting it on our own here. We don't need you. You suckered us in with all these promises, and, you know, you failed us, and blah blah blah. But it's interesting if they tie around, like, you know, we're seeing, like, we seem to be getting hints of the formation of the First Order sort of dropping there as well, of like, and sort of going back to before about the children being stolen, and then, like, he was not necessarily stolen, but he was basically an indoctrinated child. So whether he sort of catches wind of, like, what the Empire's next move is, like, well, we're just going to start farming kids, start looking for some kiddies to hold blasters and stuff like that. So whether they get that far into it or not remains to be seen. But
yeah, I feel like that isn't going to be the case, because I feel like with the First Order, what was intriguing about it is that they were harvesting from the unknown regions. So these are planets that didn't necessarily know about the Empire, which makes, I think, the kidnapping and subjugation of the planets worse.
Yeah. But then they got to, like, you know, Rise of Skywalker, they got to Kijimi, and they're like, yeah, they first sort of tore through here and took everybody and stuff as well. So they obviously started out wide, and then we're like, all right.
I feel like that's like, yeah, post.
Oh, that might be post Taken
when
over,
like,
though.
Yeah, they had the coming out party. And they're like, look, we're just gonna kidnap anyone now.
It's like, we know, we're not going to hide it anymore. We're going to hide
There's a banner that says, "Congratulations, we're bad."
it. It's not that Simpsons episode or whatever. Is it when they go to Russia and they're like, I thought you guys were good now. And they're like, they pull the thing and like
Yeah,
the
and
Lenin
the
and go,
Soviet
like,
Lenin
must
comes up.
crush capitalism. Yeah.
That's literally what happens though
Yeah.
with Palpatine.
Yeah, exactly. Wow. I got to find that clip and just like, do that thing like Rise of Skywalker 2019. It's like, back.
That's your artwork. It's the episode artwork.
All right, I'll have to have that down. Now, what was I going to say? Right. Baby Yoda looks like he's. It's being heavily implied that he's they're just trying to suck the force out of him, basically. Like Mandalorians are back. Like M count, like talk about saying it without saying it.
Oh, the midichlorians, I love it. I love it so much. The Jon Favreauization of it, where he's like, I'm going to utilize this concept, but I can only take it so far.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to use the name, but I'm like, come on, dude. I like that he's been won over by Dave Filoni. All these prequel stuff. You had the pod racer in episode 1. You had the pit droids. I love that he's implementing more prequel stuff.
The balance is like, I'm not saying the balance of power. I don't think there's a balance of power, but do you think it's like Favreau writes these outlines and Filoni's kind of like, yeah, well, I think you should. I can't do a Filoni, but put it this in, or like, do you reckon Favreau's even seen the Clone Wars?
Yeah, of course he has. He's in it.
Oh yeah, of course he's in it. Okay, that parks that line of questioning. I don't think he's seen it. I was like, oh no, he's actually in it. Well, he's at least seen the episodes that he's in. So
exactly, yeah. But I feel like he has watched it because I think he was at the premiere of the Clone Wars movie. I could be wrong about that.
He was.
I think that he has just changed. I think his views upon the story has changed because of Filoni. Which I enjoyed that as well.
Like it sort of started off as I want to make a Boba Fett show, and then it's kind of, well, you can't do that. So do this and work on this lore and blah 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 blah, and throw the galaxy out a little bit, and yeah.
It's ironic because apparently now they're doing a Boba Fett show.
Yeah, that seems like. Where do you go where you can't, like, he's going to have another dude in armor in another show? Like, I don't know.
Well, I heard apparently it's supposed to take place between Return of the Jedi and season 2 of The Mandalorian. So I don't think he will be wearing armor.
So do you reckon we won't see Boba Fett again?
I think we'll see him this season.
You reckon?
I think we will.
They can't help themselves, surely.
I mean, the trailer consists of just the first 4 episodes.
Yeah, which is great. Which just means now it's sort of, I mean, everyone's sort of saying Ahsoka Tano's turning up this episode, but I mean, who knows? People have been wrong before. I'll sort of wait and see until I see it. But
that's 4 episodes left where we know nothing about it, and it's not like Ahsoka is a big, massive spoiler. Of course, visually, it's going to be a spoiler, but we know she's in it because they've said it.
Yeah, like Disney Denmark or whatever. It was just like, well, no, Rosario Dawson. What? Oh shit! Oh well, it's out now. Okay, sorry.
But like, that's not like. There's so much that we don't know in these last 4 episodes that anything could happen. They could have, I don't know, Hayden Christensen show up. Could you imagine that as a Force ghost with Ahsoka?
Wow, it just seems so weird if they didn't do it for Rise of Skywalker and then they do it for Mandalorian. Like, I still think he is more likely to open an Obi-Wan show. But he's aging pretty well.
I don't know. I feel like the TV show, they get to have the luxury of a TV show as opposed to a feature film is that you have longer time to tell a story. And I think with the Rise of Skywalker, I think while I would have liked to have seen Anakin, the fact that they got not only Hayden Christensen back, but also they included Ahsoka, Kanan, Mace Windu, Qui-Gon Jinn. I feel like that's a merit in itself.
Yeah,
I understand why people would be like, it would take away if they were like doing battles in the background.
Yeah, and there's nowhere in the plot of that story for Anakin Skywalker, the Ghost, to really play any part apart from that moment. You know what I mean? Like, it's no point him turning up to talk to Kylo Ren or anything like that. Like, the point sort of Kylo Ren's redemption hits is sort of the moment between him and Rey. It's not like Anakin just sitting there and and then like obviously the memory thing of Han Solo is much more.
Although I will
impactful.
argue, I wish we did see him at the end of the film with the Tatooine scene. But I would have argued that this is where you push it. It's like, because if you have Anakin,
Rey doesn't know who he is, though.
Had...
Rey would just be like, well, who are you? Who's that young, handsome man over there?
She's read the books. I'm sure there's like a chapter on Anakin.
Those books are pretty ambiguous. I don't know.
I think that it would have been cool to see Anakin, Luke, Leia, Padme, and Han, and Ben.
and just
but
like
people
R2 in there, and that's
too much. But also, I would have liked R2 and 3PO to be at the end of the scene instead of BB-8. But we can't all be pickers and choosers, can
we? No, I suppose not. Yeah, Anakin's a bit of a. I always got to wonder about like Anakin Skywalker, like arguably the most famous Jedi, and kind of people just accept that he got killed, and then Darth Vader turns up, and I know there's like a few people who sort of piece it together and stuff, or assume that's kind of what goes.
Well,
down.
The galaxy knows.
They know by then, don't they? Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite bits in the book, is where like it's like a tabloid where it's like Princess Leia's father is
like
Anakin,
the Sun running
Vader.
it.
And because they tell the truth, and they go, "Oh, Anakin Skywalker, the Jedi hero, is Darth Vader." I love that.
I'm just trying to really
Rupert Murdoch.
I'm just trying to really think of the sensationalist Sun headline for that, which I feel like we've talked about one time. You're on here as well. We always fall back onto the crappy British press of just like Leia, Vader, Daddy, Mummy. It'd be some kind of really weird pun kind of. Yeah, I need time to think of it now. I know there's probably a whole room of people at the Sun who knock those headlines out.
Princess Leia's father dresses up in Nazi
yeah.
Imperial memorabilia. Get this. Yeah, it would literally be like the head of the Resistance, his dad was Space Goebbels.
Yeah. Oh, it's a terrible PR move.
Terrible PR. Like her whole campaign.
And she's like, I'm in the government. Everyone just finds out that the worst guy in the galaxy is my dad. Now I'm going to go form my own army over here.
And hope they give us money.
Yeah, and hope that they give us money. Like it is a pretty risky PR move, I guess.
Especially because she was running for space president.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, by the way, that's what I love about the first one. That's one of the things I hate about the sequel trilogy. It's because the timeline is so compact. There's not enough time to delve into the political intrigue. But the political intrigue from Bloodline is so good. The way the First Order are secretly manipulating things behind the scenes and coercing planets that were once Imperial to going back into them.
Because they're kind of just like hey, we're just a political party now. We're kind of like Sinn Féin or whatever. We used to be militarized, but now we're just a political party. Now we're just sort of greasing the wheels. We're just some
police forces who happen to look exactly the same. They're called stormtroopers.
We've got all this stuff, we can't throw all this technology out. Like that's wasteful.
Yeah, we've rebranded it.
We're rebranding. We're a hip new thing for the kids. Kids, you say? Did we say kids?
Well, the thing about that is that it's true, and that's what's terrifying. Is that it does happen.
Yeah. Yeah, that's if anything the last few years have learned is that some people go along with anything really. So it's not ridiculous to think that like, why didn't they do that? It's just like, well, take a look out your window, man. There's going to be somebody out there who if they get told the right thing or get convinced of something a certain way, that they're going to go along with it. So yeah, I'll be curious that like whether Star Wars sort of tackles that kind of stuff going forward. That that's how you could bring back the First Order. You could just be like in a galaxy where people are just like, oh well, I read that it wasn't that bad, and that Princess Leia's dad was Darth Vader, and she ran her own army, and like these guys were just trying to keep the streets clean, and you all turned up with your lightsabers and your yip nips
exactly, yeah.
Trying to free yip nips.
There is so much story there, and I feel like it'd be interesting to see if they try to retreat again. Like, no, you're not getting away this time. And it's a great opportunity for a Finn TV show to delve into that sort of backstory.
Well, you can. The thing is, I guess, that when you you tie the bow, like a tie bow on the end of sort of a story like that, and you've got characters. You have an ending, but it's completely open ended. Like the holiday special, like life just went on and stuff's happening. So obviously, if you do a Finn TV show or a Poe Dameron thing, or you do episode 10, or whether you start at 1 again and it's a new saga's done, this is a new thing. Like, as soon as you get one of those characters on board, you've kind of committed to the story regardless. Like if you get John Boyega and he's just like, all right, I've made peace with Disney. They've promised me, producers' rights, and I'm going to executive produce this thing, and I'm going to, do it my way, and we're going to work. I'll be in the story room, but like, great. But then it's like, well, if you've got a Finn show, you've got to at least mention where Rey is in some description. If Daisy Ridley's just like, I ain't coming back, she's going to Harrison Ford it, she's going to come back in 30 years. How do you do that? Like, you've got to address those sort of things. I mean, I guess you can just be like, Rey, she's busy. You can just do that.
She's teaching a new Jedi.
Yeah, like you can sort of write around it, I guess, but it's kind of like that also stalls the progression of other stories, because you're just like, well, at some point you're going to have to deal with what happens to her one way or the other, because if the door's open for her to come back eventually, like, well, we don't want to close that door. We don't want to kill her off. We don't want to Chewie drop a moon on Chewie and take that risk.
Remember that? Oh, good lord. Everyone's like, oh, it's so sad that he's the only one who survived. He's like, no, he's over the moon because he, didn't get hit by a bloody moon again.
Well, I was on podcast Force Material with Rowan and Baz, a couple of blokes up in Brizzy. I think Rowan might not be in Brizzy, but anyway, I digress. And they had, one of them knew the guy who wrote that book. I think he was just, and he said that, like, he went to Lucasfilm and was like, all right, like, who can I kill? And they basically just said pretty much anyone apart from Luke, Leia, and Han. I think it was actually kind of a lot more wide open than he thought it was going to be. Like, he was
wow.
I thought they'd be like, oh, well, you can, Nine Numb or something like that, or something. But it turned out that they were a bit more, because I think it was sort of like, it was that sort of relaunching. That was the use on Vong or whatever it was. That was like the new. Yeah. So we got to show that the stakes are high here. That anything can happen. Anyone can go. Yeah, interesting choice though, especially considering Chewie can live forever. Like, you can stick anybody in the Chewie suit.
Exactly. Yeah, very stupid. I can't stand that. But I feel like with the sequel trilogy, you've also got a great opportunity to perhaps do a big move in part of the animation team, which is that we've seen so many animated characters go to live action, and then that be like, wow, animation's on par with live action, which is what it should be. It shouldn't be like a separate, like, well, therefore animation is lesser than live action because it's cartoon. Like, no, it's just a different stroke. It's like saying, what, you use oil paint instead of I don't know, another different paint. Acrylic. Oh, you're rubbish. It's
Does it sort of like Oh, you go, mate.
Okay. Yeah, no, I think the best thing to do now is to do the opposite when have live action characters be told in animation. Maybe continue those stories. Maybe see some post OT animated Luke action.
Yeah.
Maybe some post sequel trilogy action with Rey.
Because it almost makes those, I think the original trilogy particularly, it almost makes it seem more and more isolated, because you are basically pulling everything around it and kind of writing around those events because they're not there. Like, you've got all that sort of like lead up prequel, Clone Wars, Rebels, and now you're getting to Mandalorian, Resistance, sequel trilogy stuff. And it's kind of like we almost have to go around this bump in the road because they're not, all that stuff is obviously because it was there first, it didn't exist. Like, you can't.
Yeah.
You know what? I almost said you can't go back and change it, which is absolutely not true.
George Lucas is like, excuse me.
That's the funny thing is, like, it'd be crazy if George Lucas was still running Lucasfilm, and let's just say George Lucas still owned Lucasfilm, and the trajectory still was the same, as in we still had all the same stuff. He did the sequel trilogy he did was this sequel trilogy. He did Rebels. He did everything. Like, and let's go. He's like, all right, I'm going to release the trilogy back on digitally now. It's time for the digital release. Like, how much stuff do you reckon he would just go back and like plod or put into the original thing? Because he's got like all this other stuff surrounding it.
I don't know. Maybe he would change some of the background stuff with the volume. But I know that the changes were a majority of just him wanting to perfect
Yeah.
what he saw in his vision. Which I love the idea of him like in 1977, or no, sorry, 1976, filming the cantina scene, and him going, oh, "There's something missing here. Just something," and then like hitting him. He's like, "McClunky, McClunky." He just puts it in. He's like, "It's perfect." The
I'll get
perfect
to it.
artiste.
I'll get to it. I mean, that is I don't think there's ever been almost been a better George Lucas troll than McClunky. Really, like
It's so
just,
good.
It's just like a little Easter egg of just like, I know you all give me shit about messing with this scene. I've sold it. It's out of my hands, and yet, 6 or 7 years later, I'm still gonna.
Well, I think he did it like way before that, didn't he? Because it was for the 3D edit.
Was it the 3D edit that never was done? It had been mastered in 4K. Yeah.
Yeah, they did it for the 3D that was going to be theatrically released, but then they stopped doing that once episode 1 didn't succeed as well as they wanted it to. Do
Yeah.
you remember when they was going to release every single film in 3D?
Yeah. So
That's when he.
the heady
Yeah.
summer of 3D.
Jesus. 2011.
I've got a 3D TV just because it was when I bought a new TV. It was 3D. Like, it wasn't like I seeked it out. And this is like 2012 or something. That's one that's in our kitchen lounge. And so I've got Force Awakens on 3D because I bought it because it had the commentary track on it. It was the only release that had the J.J. Abrams commentary track. Yeah, so I have watched Force Awakens in 3D at home, but I don't even know. I don't even know if you can see a 3D session at the cinema industry anymore. Maybe IMAX do it. Maybe. I don't think you can see it in any. Like, do you reckon Avatar? Like, I know Avatar's supposed to be coming back. Like, do you reckon they'll bring back 3D? Do you think that'll be?
They will for that.
Do you think anybody will
But
care?
that's the film. That's like the film designed with it in mind, right? So.
Yeah, I mean, like all those Hobbit
when they
movies were
do-
shot in 3D as well too.
Yeah. I don't know. I never was a fan of 3D, to be honest.
Well, they did that. I saw the Hobbit, the first one, in like the 36 frames a second thing as well, or it was like the special frame rate that made it look like it was shot on video camera, on video, because it was just like the movement was too realistic. It was kind of that freaky motion scrolling kind of thing. Yeah.
Tell you what though, The Force Awakens 3D was actually quite good.
Yeah, I didn't see
The
this.
opening
Like I said,
shot
on the
of the
TV,
Star
it went pretty
Destroyer
good.
and the Falcon chase was great.
Maybe I'll have to go back and. Although I don't think I've got my. I won't talk about what I've got hooked up to what. I'm like, I don't think the Xbox is hooked up to it. I'd have to go check. I have to check it out. Mate, we're nearly out of time here. This is just like, we get together, just catching up, talking Star Wars, all this kind of business. Let's just do a quick sort of like, what do you want to see these last 4 Mando things? The sky's the limit. What do you want to see? Do you want to see Snoke popping out of a great big tube somewhere? And
I would look, Josh. You know me. I would love to see Snoke's tube whenever and whenever.
God, I've walked into that.
If they want to show Snoke's tube,
maybe
look back to
there's the episode of the title right there.
Snoke's massive tube.
Snoke's massive tube.
I mean, look, the whole Snoke stuff I think is awesome. I love the idea of him. I love the idea of Moff Gideon being actually a Sith. What's the Sith like elitist as opposed to the First Order.
Mm-hmm.
So he's under like the radar and like trying to do all this stuff for Palpatine. He's more so like General Pride than a General Hux type of person.
Yeah. He's looking at the bigger picture.
Exactly. I love that sort of stuff. I love all the crazy elements they're introducing. The fact that you can do it's a focus story in The Mandalorian. It doesn't take away from his point of view. Because then people are like, but you're introducing all these characters now. It ruins the story. I'm like, no, it doesn't. Because you're just seeing it from Mando's point of view.
Yeah. He's just a little dude who knows nothing being thrown into a big world.
Exactly. He's a conduit for the audience, which is always the best thing about Star Wars.
Mm.
The thing I want to see this season, which, look, I've got my crazy fingers crossed. I don't know if it will happen. But I feel like when you introduce Boba Fett and everything about the Baby Yoda stuff and everything about what they're doing, I reckon we'll see Kamino.
Yeah, I think that's a very good chance.
What better way to tie in the whole cloning arc and have one of the galaxy's most notorious clones come back.
The galaxy's most notorious clone. It's on his business card.
Yeah.
The notorious,
Pioneer.
the notorious CLONE.
The most notorious clone in the galaxy. Bracket, no disintegrations.
Bracket, may go missing for 5 or 6 years. Awesome, mate. Tell everybody, I mean, everybody knows who's listening to this would surely know about what you and your little buddies get up to, but please plug away.
Yeah, so we do a podcast called the Imperial Senate Podcast. That's on iTunes, or Apple Podcasts as it's known now, Spotify, SoundCloud, all the podcasting places you can go. We're probably there. Me, Nikki, and Claire talk about gibberish in the Star Wars galaxy, and we do it very well. We've also got a YouTube channel, which is the Imperial Senate Podcast on YouTube, where we're doing weekly Mando review shows, and Claire and I will be doing a reaction video this week for the Ahsoka episode, so look out for that too.
It's not just, British people react to American candy or vice versa or anything like that.
It depends how Ahsoka looks.
We're doing a reaction video of, kids listen to heavy metal for the first time or something.
I'm a loser because I love those videos.
You're like, what does he think about? What does that 6-year-old think about Metallica? I gotta know.
How have you never had The Cure?
Awesome, mate. Well, you can catch us at StarWarsSpeltout.com. All our stuff's there, t-shirts, things. Thanks for everybody. Keep listening, and we'll be back next time. So thank you very much, mate.
Thank you for having me on.
I'll see you soon.